Giving away Tony Bennett tickets on the program. Eagles tickets coming up in about 20 minutes or so here, 7:50 this morning. So that one maybe a different era than our student section members are used to hearing. John and Claudia joining us here. John Wagoner, Claudia Chakamian, a couple of outgoing USC seniors who are joining us every Thursday morning here in the last couple of weeks as you guys are headed out. You're experienced enough now to weigh in. We would like to know what's going on the campus, the student vibe. You guys have covered a bunch of sports in your college careers. John, you were just down at the Heritage this week.
Yes, sir.
What did you think?
That was the first time I'd ever been to Harbortown, and I was down there doing a story on Wesley Bryan, who people may know, USC golfer, played his first Masters this past weekend, won the Heritage last year, so now he's out defending the plaid jacket. It was really cool. That course is incredible. It was the weather was rough, a lot of wind and rain, so we didn't get the they do the cannon blast for the ceremonial first shot, so no cannon blast, but they had a lot of the former champions out there. So that was really cool to be out there and do that story. Interviewed him and his dad. His dad coaches, actually he teaches a PE golf class here at USC, which is how I know him, out at Charwood Country Club. Mm-hmm. So that was I'm still bad at golf, but that's not his fault. But it was really cool, and they're both really great people, humble, and I think that Wesley has a bright future in the on the tour. So.
Yeah, defending champion. I mean, getting the win last year was off the charts. It's only South Carolina native, I think, to do it, and to do it how he did it. He made quite the splash in his rookie season.
Absolutely.
To make the Masters. That was cool. He did make the cut. He would have preferred to play better. He's done an interesting thing with his schedule. Took a bunch of weeks off before the Masters to try to get ready for it. Will be interesting to see how he does now, getting in really to the meat of his PGA Tour schedule. Claudia, I know you've been busy as always now with multiple things going on since I spoke with you last. Let's talk with you about Gamecock baseball, something that you've really been focused on for the Daily Gamecock, covering them. Headed to one of the toughest places to play in the country, and they start their Thursday, Friday, Saturday series with Arkansas tonight.
Yeah, I think, first off, getting one win at Kentucky last week was huge, and the way they got that big win last week at Kentucky. And, I mean, Kentucky's a top 10 team just like they're going into this weekend. So I think them getting the big win in a top 10 road match last week will kind of prepare them for this week. Now, I mean, Arkansas is number 3 in the country, so it's going to be a much tougher opponent. But they got that one win kind of under their belt, and then they got that win at the Citadel, kind of got some revenge from the last time they played them. And, you know, it's going to be a really tough matchup this weekend. Arkansas, like you said, has proved themselves so well. Kind of a different look to the weekend rotation a little bit with Logan Chapman starting off tonight, but it's keeping Adam Hill and Cody Morris pitching on their scheduled days, just not the same day in the weekend rotation kind of. But I think that's a good strategy, so maybe that will help with them being in a more familiar role when they head up to Arkansas.
Yeah, Bill, I know we haven't talked about it yet, but you mentioned that to me in the pre-production meeting, Chapman starting in an SEC series for the first time. To me, I see this as basically a promotion for what he did against North Carolina a week and a couple of days ago, holding the Tar Heels down. I think he got tagged with 3 earned runs, but he left with a 3-1 lead and was really the only Gamecock pitcher to have any success against the Tar Heels. You don't see it that way, Bill? You don't seem very impressed.
No, well, they've rotated. So to me, they're still trying to find their Sunday starter.
No doubt.
And so you've kept everything else in line. So I don't know if I don't consider this a promotion because of the way Mark Kingston worded it yesterday with, number one, with Adam Hill's injury and trying to keep him on a same set schedule and avoid dead arm. And so with that in mind, it wasn't as simple as, well, let's just bump everybody up in the rotation and roll with whoever we got on Saturday afternoon in Game 3. I think this was simply, okay, who was the best available pitcher we had on to throw our third game, which in this case is going to be game number 1. It seems like they are settling in John Gilreath in the bullpen, being able to use him multiple times over the weekend instead of just once. So that eliminates Gilreath. Who else you go with there in that position is kind of limited. I mean, who else did they? I'm trying to think real quick. They've started Demarius, I believe, at one point of the season. But again, they like him in the bullpen. I just think, I don't know if it's a promotion as much as, I mean, he's been there, I guess is my point. Like, I understand what you're saying about the North Carolina game, but I just view this as the way Mark Kingston and Skylar Meade wanted to set up their rotation, this was the best available option for them to go with tonight.
We'll see what happens moving forward. I think if Chapman pitches well tonight, then you see him move into that Sunday role possibly. Ridge Chapman has been in that role for most of the season, up and down, as the pitching staff has been, especially in SEC play.
Yeah, and that's my point. Like, you look at it, and it's kind of right now trying to find that third guy. Who can that third guy be to pair with Adam Hill and Cody Morris? Cody Morris is, I think, thrown about as well as you could ask for this season. I'm a little... It makes me sound like a moron because going into the season, well, if Cody Morris can throw well, then I think that bridges the gap from Friday to Sunday, and you should have a pretty successful season. If you'd have told me Cody Morris was going to have this kind of season, I would have told you South Carolina would have a couple more wins, and they haven't been able to do it. To me, again, it's consistency this weekend. What will South Carolina do that you go in and you hang your hat on and say, all right, they're going to get a good start from Adam Hill on Friday night? We've seen good and we've seen bad. That's not consistent. Well, they're going to go out and hit the ball and be consistent, putting the ball in play. Well, we haven't seen that. They'll play well in the field and they'll limit their mental mistakes in the field, but we haven't seen that consistently. What kind of consistent play do we get? And you better have it this weekend against Arkansas in a very tough environment.
You look at the numbers. Blaine Knight is the pitcher for Arkansas going tonight, 6-0 on the year, ERA just below 2. 48 strikeouts, 11 walks, about as good as it gets, as typically is the case in a frontline SEC starter. The other numbers for Arkansas's pitchers moving on, the Friday night starter against Adam Hill will be Casey Murphy. He's at 2.31 ERA, 33 strikeouts, just 6 walks in 39 innings at 4-2 record. And then Isaiah Campbell will be going for Arkansas in game number 3. Not quite as good numbers, just 2-3 on the season with a 4.03 ERA, going against Cody Morris with basically the exact same ERA, but a 6-2 record this year. I agree with you, Bill. I think he's thrown about as well as you could have hoped for the most part. Will be a good spot for Carolina to have him in game number 3, I think, this weekend, assuming that they can do something in games 1 or 2.
No, to be completely unfair, if I'm looking ahead, has Cody Morris set himself up through the first part of the season to be the Friday night starter next year?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, is that because that if you're going to say yes, that tells me he's thrown as good as you could have hoped for. That he is, and he's solidified that number 2 role. But with Adam Hill set to move on, has Cody Morris done good enough that you look at him and go, okay, he's definitely the number 1 guy, the Friday night starter in 2019?
Will be interesting to see who they go to the bullpen first. Who do you think it could be, Claudia? You think Ridge Chapman gets an early look here tonight? You think it's John Gilreath, like Bill just mentioned? You think it's Eddie Demurius? Where do you think they go?
I think it really just depends on what the offense has done at that point. If they have a good enough lead, I think if they're struggling more, they're going to bring Gilreath in because I think he's been the most consistent from the bullpen. He struggled, especially in that start against Clemson when he started the Sunday game about a month ago. But he's been the most consistent coming out of the bullpen. I think he's looked the best for the Gamecocks bullpen pitchers. So I think if they're struggling on offense and they need to hold Arkansas to a few runs and get the offense going, they're going to bring Gilreath in to maintain that small lead or whatever lead Arkansas might have to try and get the offense to click.
John, how dare you, by the way, criticize our poll question about the dumbest move in sports, punching a helmet, a player wearing a helmet in football. We all know it's dumb. I'm just saying that I understand it. Why don't you understand this?
Okay, so number 1 reason there is intelligence. Because if you're punching somebody in the helmet, that's all pain on you and no pain on the other guy. Maybe he gets his head knocked back or something. Why don't you hit him where you can actually hurt them? Punch him in the gut, something like that. I mean, or take him to the ground. It just makes, like, all of the things on this list make sense except for punching somebody in a helmet. Fake an injury, if you want to call it weak, that's fine. It works a lot of the time. We saw it yesterday. I don't know if anybody watches soccer in this town, but Champions League.
Well, Jay Phillips and Pearson Fowler did.
Yeah, exactly. Ronaldo.
You wearing a soccer jersey today?
Yeah.
How do we let him
Twice
in
he showed up with a jersey on, by the way, buddy. This is your guy.
This is a sports show, is it not?
We don't.
Yes, a radio show where you can't see what you're wearing.
Am I not allowed to support my teams?
No.
My goodness.
I don't think so.
Taking a charge also makes
Twice
sense.
your guy showed up wearing a jersey. Now, last week he proudly displayed his Kimball Walker jersey.
Yeah, and apparently I got a lot of flack for that, apparently.
Greatest Charlotte Hornet ever.
Who's better? Who's better?
Sure, you guys went to Larry Johnson
Del Scott,
immediately.
Del
Great
Curry.
names. Del Scott. Who's Del Scott again?
Del Curry.
Who's the student here?
Yeah, really.
I said
listen,
two of them, buddy. You're the one with the Kemba Walker
Curry, great
analogy.
player. All of them are great players, but here's the thing.
How many
And
playoff wins?
this goes back to the LeBron versus MJ debate. He was the greatest player of his era by far, but the people he was playing against are of no comparison to the level of talent in the league right now.
How many playoff wins Kemba Walker got?
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't
So
matter.
let's throw out my question. Let's just go with yours. Gotcha. No playoff wins for Kemba Walker.
No, he does have playoff wins. They won
Playoff
series.
No, you said how many playoff wins. Okay. There's a big difference.
Right. Yeah, there is a difference. I do agree with you.
But why don't you understand an emotional game escalating to something where intelligence doesn't weigh in? It's not a measured out thing, man. This is just emotion.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know why people do it. I just think it's dumb.
Of course it's dumb.
But I mean, there are times when emotion supersedes thought, and you just want to throw hands with somebody.
Right, and that's what happens here.
But it's still by far the dumbest one, and I don't know why anybody would do it. Again, you can punch somebody where it actually hurts. You can still have a base level of intelligence even when you're fuming angry. Mm-hmm. We've seen good fights in the NFL. We've seen it happen before. The good old Cordarrelle Patterson, and I can't even remember the other guy's name, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or do you? I don't know. No, you don't? You don't remember that?
Why was it a good one?
Because there was actual, contact, and they weren't just slap boxing each other in the helmet. Mm-hmm. They were actually throwing shots to where it could hurt. So that's really what I'm looking for.
You just need more violence.
I do need more violence.
More blood.
And that's why I'm so excited about the XFL coming back. Right?
Okay, that's when we have to take a break. Going to see if they can come up with something that's dumber in sports than our 4 options we have for you on today's Frank's Discount Tire poll question. It's the student section. We have the dramatic conclusion of hour number 2 coming up. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Bigger, Eagles or Tony Bennett? Different genres. I get that. Different genres, but who's bigger?
All the students, such blank looks on their faces.
I like the Eagles. I appreciate the Eagles. 7 Bridges Road.
I thought you were going to say the Eagles, so that doesn't shock me at all.
Oh, okay. I mean, Tony Bennett is great. I respect him.
So who's bigger?
Oh, the Eagles. Wow.
Do you know who Tony Bennett is?
That's a fair answer.
The coach at Virginia, right?
Okay, all right. That's okay, Claudia. We're kindred spirits in that. I didn't know either. He's the Velvet Fog, of course.
No idea.
He is doing that tongue-in-cheek for everyone who's just yelling at Bill. It's the only Seinfeld reference that he knows, though. The only reason that he gets that.
No, so I can only use that one for the next few weeks. Gotcha. I don't know if we're going to get a Mel Torme ticket giveaway.
Okay, Frank's Discount Tire poll question. Dumbest move in sports in honor, kind of off of a couple of charging the mound incidents yesterday in Major League Baseball. That's in 3rd place right now, behind faking an injury in soccer. Punching a helmet in football is leading the way. Taking a charge in the NBA, which is what Bill's trying to get some momentum for, is in 4th place right now. According to our student section members, Claudia, you get to go first here. What's the dumbest move in sports? Do you agree with one of those, or do you have one of your own?
I think I really agree with the faking an injury one. I just think that's, I don't see a point in that and a realistic point in that. I think the other ones, I see a legitimate point in charging the mound. I mean, I was watching some of the games last night, and I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was fine, and punching the helmet is stupid, but I still think faking an injury is just the dumbest thing you can do, and there's really no realistic point coming out of it.
The soccer jersey wearing John disagrees, shaking his head vehemently right now.
It's a smart play in the game. Same way a charge is a smart play in a basketball game. Faking an injury, while embarrassing at times, works. And if the sport is going to create an environment where you can do that, use it. Use it. You can earn your team a penalty, which could lead to a goal, or a free kick, which could also lead to a goal. It's smart play.
But you could also get a yellow card for it, right?
Right, but a yellow card is whatever.
Can you get a red card for it, or just a yellow?
I think you just get a yellow.
Well, if you already have yellow, then you get another yellow. Okay. And that's right.
The injury thing across the board doesn't bother me as much. Now, you said the charge, man. That's not smart. A regular season game where you're defending 2 points.
It's a great momentum swinger.
Bill's point is in the NBA. In the regular season, you mentioned Frank Booker made his Carolina defensive career
in NBA,
out of
and again, we're talking NBA. And as the intern pointed out, as Jordan pointed out earlier, DeMarcus Cousins led the league in charges taken this year. And how many games did he play? 48. He got injured taking charges.
Correlation, not causation. All right, they're related.
He got injured.
Don't confuse him, John.
What you end up getting. I don't see a reason of taking a charge. I'm stunned by the numbers you came up with in terms of just in the top 12, you had 214 charges. So that number that I guessed or ballparked, obviously way off. But the bottom line is, you talk about dumb plays. I don't understand taking a charge in an NBA game. Like, I guess you make a name
Even
for
late
your
in the game, I mean, like that can swing momentum if it's a close game and you
get
draw
run,
a charge.
You get run over, but you get run over by a big guy that could cost you 3-4 weeks.
But it could also win you the game.
You got a dumber move in sports?
Yes, cheating on your wife, your pregnant wife, in the age of social media. Tristan Thompson did it. Oh, did you not? I'm getting stunned. Look, that's the dumbest move in sports.
We could have gotten into the whole how much do we want to know about athletes' personal lives. I think John just gave us his opinion on that. Way, way too much.
I mean, I'm all for athletes getting involved in the social media realm, but not like that. Like Juju Smith-Schuster streaming video games with Drake and Travis Scott, 2 rappers, a couple of weeks ago. That's great. I'm all for that. Like players showing their personality.
Oh, the Gunter Gasbaggy hot take tradition continues with John. Thanks for joining us,
Passing
guys.
along.